Welcome. I'm Terry Kramer, and I wanted to welcome you to the second day of our Wilbur Greater China Business Conference. And I have to say, what a great first day that we had with incredible insights about the pace and magnitude of change happening in the Greater China region, about the role that technology has had, especially in the area of artificial intelligence. And third, the unique aspects and context in China that has allowed this type of growth and transformation. Now, the focus of today's conversations is going to explore technology-based innovation, specifically the role that AI has in changing the landscape of education and how the region is driving innovation of internet services globally. Now, specifically, we've got three goals for today. The first is to take a closer look at how technology innovation is disrupting traditional industries. The second goal is to identify the greatest opportunities and challenges in the Greater China region associated with what is often leapfrog innovation. And then our third goal is to understand the unique attributes of consumers in the Greater China region and how they differ from consumers in other markets and how this may impact innovation opportunities. In the first session today, Derek Lee, who is the founder and chief education technology scientist at Squirrel AI Learning, the first AI-powered adaptive learning company in China, will provide for us a closer look at how technology innovation is changing the face of education. The second session that we're going to have is on how the Greater China region is driving innovation of internet services globally with Eleanor Leong, who's the head of Asia Telecom and Internet Research at CLSA. Now, our first session with Derek Lee is going to be moderated by Cindy Fan, Vice Provost for International Studies and Global Engagement, the first woman and Asian American to hold that position and professor of geography. As UCLA's Senior International Officer, Vice Provost Fan manages UCLA's international partnerships and agreements, represents UCLA globally, promotes international education and research, and oversees 27 interdisciplinary research centers and 8 degree programs within the International Institute. Vice Provost Fan was born in Hong Kong. She received her PhD from Ohio State University and an honorary Doctor of Law degree from the University of Bristol. She has numerous publications on migration, regional development, and gender in China, including the pioneering book, China on the Move. In this session, we'll hear more about the key enablers for the region's AI education boom and the impact of the pandemic on driving greater adoption and opportunities through AI to provide a high quality, personalized education to students at an affordable price, and also to understand whether these offerings could garner notable adoption in other markets such as the US and Europe. For all of our sessions, we are allocating time for audience questions. Please pose your questions via the Slido tool, which is embedded at the bottom of your screen. You can either type in your own question or you can upvote one of the existing questions. And now it's my great honor to turn over the first program to Vice Provost Cindy Fan. Welcome, Cindy.
Thank you so much, Terry. And thank you so much also for helping us to set some goals for today's 2 sessions. I would like to welcome and thank everyone for joining us for this session, Transforming Education Using AI, that features our distinguished guest speaker, Derek Haoyang Lee, founder and chief education technology scientist of Squirrel AI Learning. Now, before I introduce him, I'd like to just start the program with some context. In the last few years, China's investment in AI-enabled teaching and learning has exploded. And according to one estimate, China's annual investment in AI education is over US $1 billion, which is more than any other country. And tens of millions of students in China now use some form of AI to learn, whether through extracurricular tutoring programs, digital learning platforms, or even in the classrooms. What accounts for such enthusiasm for AI education in China? I think there are at least 6 reasons. First, education is highly valued in Chinese society. Doing well in exams like the college entrance exam or Gaokao is considered a ticket to success in life. Therefore, schools and parents tend to be really open to new modes of learning that could improve their students' chance of success. Number two, China's rapidly aging population and a shrinking labor force poses a challenge to maintaining the momentum of economic growth. The focus now is therefore on the quality rather than the quantity of the labor force. Number three, China is facing a shortage of qualified teachers and tutors, especially in rural areas. And fourthly, from a national strategic perspective, China has identified AI development and application as a focus in order to lead the next round of technological innovations globally. And number five, government support like tax breaks and incentives for AI ventures encourages entrepreneurial investments in AI education. And finally, as Terry mentioned, the Chinese consumers are also driving AI innovation by being willing to share personal information in exchange for convenience and service. Now, on the eastern side of the Pacific, Silicon Valley is also keenly interested. According to a March 2019 report, the Chan-Zuckerberg Initiative and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation identified AI as an educational tool worthy of investment. And tech giants like Google has the Google AI education libraries, Microsoft has an AI school, and higher education institutions, among them, MIT has launched a new Schwarzman College of Computing that's heavily focused on AI. Harvard established the AI Initiative, and UCLA has a Star AI Lab. And notably, the MIT Technology Review suggested that China's grand experiment in AI education could perhaps reshape how the entire world learns in the future. Now, I cannot think of a more qualified speaker than Derek Lee to tell us more about how AI is transforming and will transform education. And it's my honor to introduce him. Derek Lee is the founder and chief education technology scientist at Squirrel AI Learning by Yixue Group, a top 20 AI unicorn in China. As a serial entrepreneur, Derek co-founded the first education company listed in China's A shares market with a market cap of $200 million. And he was awarded the top 30 AI entrepreneur in China. Derek also created several ingenious educational innovations, such as concepts on nanoscaled knowledge components, AI model adapted learning skills decomposition methods, reconstructing knowledge space theory or KST with students' reasons for mistakes. And he has been invited to speak at Stanford Business School, UCLA Anderson, Singularity University, and Hong Kong Graduate School of Business. And as for the company, Squirrel AI Learning, it aspires to provide a high-quality, personalized education for every student in the world at an affordable price with the AI tutor, quote, that is as erudite as Socrates, as versatile as Da Vinci, and as intelligent as Einstein, end quote. I think I want to learn from the AI tutor. And I can't wait to hear more. And after a short video presentation, I will ask Derek some questions, then we will use Slido for Q&A session. And as Terry mentioned earlier, Slido is embedded at the bottom of the audience viewing screen. And so during the Q&A session, please type your questions there, and you can also vote up questions. So without further ado, let's first watch a video presentation by Derek Lee.
Hi, I'm Derek Haoyang Lee from Squirrel AI Learning. We are the first AI-based adaptive learning companies in China. We have business partner of 4,000 learning centers and 20,000 primary and secondary schools in more than 1,000 cities and counties all over China. At the beginning of last year, actually, we faced a very severe situation. When COVID-19 struck China, a lot of companies face a miserable situation. a lot of unicorns died last year, like 学霸君 and Dada and Haifeng. The three of them each raised the investment of like 200 million or even $400 million. But they either bankrupt or lay off 90% of their employee. For Yusheng, Yuwin Education, which has 200 learning centers and more than 30,000 employees, and Disney English China, which has 100,000 students, closed their business. For us, Squirrel AI Learning, we have to shut down our 2,000 learning centers. And to help our business partner, we give them 5 months for free for the subscription fee. At that time, nobody thought we could survive all this. But actually, after 1 year, we not only survived, we signed 1,000 learning centers more, and we started new business to give SaaS system for the public and private full-time schools, and also the student paid at our system grew 100% higher. How did we get here despite all the difficulties? Actually, 1 year before, we did a lot of hard decisions. Some of them may seem suicide strategy. For example, we give all our employees only 30% of their salary for nearly 5 months. At the beginning, when we do this, nobody understands. And our enemies and all the media said Squirrel AI will have to be bankrupt or shutting down because nobody could bear this. And they are, in their miserable state, and they could do nothing at this, and every employee will abandon them. But actually, after 1 year, only 6% of our employees leave us. Most of our employees stay with us and get through all these difficulties, while other, pure online companies give more than double the salaries and want them to go there. But they refused. They think we are getting the right direction and we are doing the right thing, even it is very hard for everybody. Besides this, we also cut all our other costs by 70% for 5 months. And I said to all our colleagues that after 5 months, there will be a boom in the market in China because the quarantine regulation in China is very severe. And I think in 3 or 4 months, all these things will pass by and there will be a booming needs for this market. So before that booming, we have to have enough money to put on. So we have to be very strict at this moment. In this underpaid months, our colleagues actually do a lot of things. We moved all our students in the 2,000 learning centers to transform to online studying. And also, we released more than 300 new versions of our product. And at May, when we expect the market will come back, we spend a lot of money on the marketing things. For example, we signed Yang Lan, who is one of the most renowned and respectful star women in China. Also, she is one of the most expensive people to sign. And she also became our investor. By this method, our cash income in July tripled the amount in May. And in December, our cash income grew 900% compared to May. And besides this, we also have a new strategy of a more SaaS model. We give free product experience for all the full-time schools. And by 6 months, we have a partner of 20,000 primary and secondary schools, and we got 10 million students. Even they are free, and we estimate in this year and the next year, they will generate a lot of new form of income for us. Besides this, in 2019, our company got net cash flow out for $40 million. But in 2020, actually at the end, we got net cash flow in. So it's like a miracle for us. Last February, when we cut most of the cost, and especially the salary, all the social media and the mainstream media and the comments following the article concerning us seems very fierce. They said Squirrel AI is very ugly and irresponsible and very cruel to the employees. They cut the salary and ask all of them to do more things, to save the company. But actually, by the end of last year, we paid all the cut salary of 70% back to our employee. And more, we gave out more than $10 million bonus. And even more, we save and increase the value of their options. I think it's a win-win situation. So one of my motto is the best decision is always the hardest decision. But all these results are not only because of the business strategy. For me, I think most of the results actually come from all these years we devoted in the product, in the AI algorithm, and in the adaptive learning platform. I want to mention two major algorithms that we use really, which help the students and make a very, word of mouth and boomed our DAU from very low to 2 million. One is called Human in the Loop. Actually, 2 years before, when I met Tom Mitchell from CMU, I talked with him by his method of this new AI strategy. He said deep learning needs too much data, but actually kids do not learn like neural network because kids need only 30 pictures of cat that he or she could understand what cat is, but neural network needs 3 million pictures of cat to understand what is cat. But how to deal with this? How to solve the problem of the waste of data, or what we call the efficiency of the AI? Tom Mitchell said, if I could tell my VPA that every time it snows very heavily in Pittsburgh, you should alarm me 30 minutes before. But should we use this instruction of the users for millions of people? It is hard to say because some people need 1 hour earlier to get up to be on time on their work. But some people may not go to work at that day when the weather is not good. So how to deal with these instructions? How much priority should the AI system give to these priorities? So by the past of the 2 years practice, we let the students and the teachers beside give a lot of different instructions to our system. And we let our AI model to evaluate each of the instructions so that we could save a lot of data and make better decisions. In the traditional method like AlphaGo use, it needs millions of mistakes to understand what is right or what is wrong. But by the user's instructions, the AI model could understand right or wrong and could get punished and reward by reinforced learning more efficiently. For example, now, not only in the Squirrel AI learning system, the millions of users' instruction made our models smarter and evolve very quickly. But also it gives me a habit that I always think the VPA and sometimes the GPS are very stupid. Why, when I find one mistake of them, it takes like months or even years and millions of mistakes, they could, correct this mistake. Last year, we also found out a whole new world of learning. We are not letting the students to learn what they learn, but we found trace back to the root, to actually where his weakness is. And when we trace back for 3 or even 5 years what he missed at that time and make it strong, and then we go back to let the student to understand fully and very deeply what the things should be. Another amazing thing is our AI learning platform evolved into a whole new level that no other companies have ever imagined of. It is what we call platform unification. It may seem a little complicated. Actually, we only describe the skeleton of it. Actually, there are more things like the ice mountain under the water. But the spirit is, we think we find out the secret of learning. A lot of people learn very hard but get, very bad result. Some students or learners may hate learning. How to deal with this? How to solve all these learning problems? Actually, we found out other than MOOC, give the learners all the things the teachers think it is right. We actually describe every learner. We give something he could learn fast and he is interested of. And sometimes when they struggled with something, we do not stuck there, but we trace the root to find out something else, but more important and related. And we solve that problem, and then we come back to what he should understand. As a result, we have a lot of miracles last year by this system. For example, a kid called Lei, he dropped school when he was in the grade 6. He wanted to be a waiter in a very small restaurant. And after 2.5 years, he just, understand he has to go back to school and he want to study again, even if he already became the manager of the restaurant. But what the bad thing happened is he even got 0 points out of the examination. But after 6 months learning in our system, his points raised 270 points in his score. And he, like when he was in the miserable desperate situation, and he liked learning and study very much. Another boy called Joe, he's, never liked study in his life. He was addicted to the games online, and he smoke, he drink a lot of, and he fight with other kids, and he's very rude to his teachers. So he was like kicked out of his school. His mother did not want to, abandon him, so get him to the correctional school. But at there, he learned even worse. But in Squirrel AI system, only by 4 months in the COVID, full-time in his family by computer, he found out the joy of learning. He learned every day, like hours and hours. He just liked learning. He could find that he's not stupid. He could understand what he never understand. And he got 150 points higher than before. By seeing that miracle, the dean of his school accept him to come back to his class. So I think if we could use AI to help so many peoples, and even some desperate learners, I think that's what the technology should be. And also, we have a lot of students in very rural area and very in the high mountains, and in a lot of countries in China, which is very poor. The student could not get good teachers, or they have no teachers. But we give the computers and the AI virtual tutors there, and the student learn better and better in our system. Also last year, we donated like $100 million worth accounts for free for the students who are in very poor area or very poor family situation, for free, to help them to learn better and better. So for Squirrel AI, we want to build a super master virtual tutor. And we want every kid in this world could have the best ever teaching quality. Actually, in my heart, I think every kid are natural born learners. We just need to use AI and all the other methods to review it and help them to bring out their potentials. So we want to build a super master AI virtual tutor to help every kid to get the best teaching quality equally. Thank you.
That's fascinating, Derek. Really, really enjoyed the video and your thoughts. And I really think that your innovations, like you said, have unlocked the secret of learning and really unleashed potential in students. And that's really so great. And how the company really weathered the storm last year, and not only weathered the storm, but emerged even more successful than before. That's also really impressive. So we already have a number of questions in Slido, but before we get to the questions, I'd like to just start with a few questions of my own. The first is that these innovations are really exciting and really effective too, but are there any negative externalities utilizing AI in education? And if so, what are they, and how can they be mitigated?
Thank you, Cindy. I like to say, since the AI virtual tutor evolved more and more powerful, and more students could get the best teaching quality, but some students and people in the
very poor area, if they do not have the computer or the broadband facility, it will be a very big gap, especially compared to the human teachers state. So, in China, the government asked all the telecom company to give the broadband to every village in China. That's no private companies would do in other country. And also there's a lot of computers donated in such village. Whenever I have been there, they have this facility so that we could provide virtual tutor to the student there. But in other part in the world, I hope the government and the charity fund could do such thing so that in the future the kids there will not, lose competitive ability.
Thank you, Derek. It's really good to know that children and students in rural areas do have access to broadband too. My second question has to do with the teacher, well, being an educator, right? Do you think that AI would reduce the workload for teachers, or eventually maybe even replace teachers altogether? And in the classroom, what is the right mix of human and AI?
No, I don't think so. It's like the car industry creates much more jobs than the horse industry, right? So AI education industry, I think, will boom the job for teachers and researchers and all kinds of jobs around it. And also, human teacher is different with virtual tutor, because the robot is like no human nature, unless sometimes the AI evolved that the robot could replace your lover or your husband and wife. Maybe at that time, teacher face serious problem.
Right. So we still need lover. We still need teachers. That's good to know. Now, China is somewhat unique in the sense that Chinese companies potentially maybe have a competitive advantage, given the fact that I think the Chinese consumers tend to be more willing to share data. And so do you think that as a result, and data is so essential, right, for AI models. So do you think that therefore Chinese companies actually have advantage over their international peers?
Yeah, of course. I think we are benefit from, everybody knows the big population in China, so that we could get more data. And also one thing I want to mention is the attitude and the way that the Chinese government do in this sector. Like we know, decades before, in the media industry, almost all the media are owned by the government. But Chinese government has a way of booming the economy, and the technologies is like develop first and regulate later. So now we know most of the media in China are private. And needless to say, the we media, right? The million of we media, every people could do things. Yeah. Of course, the government actually shut down some media. Even like one is owned by Toutiao, which has 100 million users, and a lot of we media for moral reason or other things, but still 99% of the media exists, right? So for a lot of other industry like fintech, also AI, the government attitude is still develop first and regulate later. So it gives us a lot of time to breathe and to grow better, and then more regulation we could do, very strict and but also we are benefited that the Chinese users are not so the same as the Western people. Like in the COVID, when every people getting home for like 1 month, every people will do that, right? So when we ask the parents if we could use the data, and most of them they agreed, and you could never imagine that most of the parents they agree us to use even the name of their kids because we help their kids to doing better, and they say it's okay. even some cases not so good, but the parents think we are try to doing the right thing, and we take effort doing the right thing, so they understand us and they give us a lot of rights to do more things. Yeah, I think we could do outside China. So it's really a benefit for AI company in China.
Thank you, Derek. That's very interesting what you said about the Chinese government's approach: develop first, regulate later. So I think that probably applies to many sectors, right? In addition to AI, and so that's really something to think about as we investigate and consider doing business in China.
Yeah. As you know, that Chinese government, they don't quarrel. If they think some strategy is right, just do it.
Just do it. So let's maybe turn our attention to the company itself, right? So Squirrel AI has been so successful. What's your vision for the company for the next 10 to 20 years, and what is its future roadmap? And maybe can you share some of the applications that are on the horizon?
I think like in 10 years, I hope Squirrel AI could collect all the knowledge and the knowledge of the world, and absorb all the wisdom of all teachers in the world, so that it could answer any questions that the learner want to ask. And even the Squirrel AI virtual tutor could not really answer the question, but still it can give a lot of creative, relative opinion, to let the students think broader and deeper. And also, I assume that in the future, like maybe 15 or 20 years, I believe that every student could have a personal tutor robot beside him or her. It's like in the ancient Europe, only very rich people have a private tutor in their home, right, to tutoring their kids. So I think at that time, robot is like car. Every family has 1 or 2 or 3 robot, to teach their kids and to do any other things, housekeeping things or other things. But the personal tutor should be a very important one. So that not only in the spiritual interaction, but also we can play pianos and do the experiment and do anything with the kid. So that's what I believe.
That's wonderful, Derek, because accessibility, right? I think what you're talking about is every child, every student in the world, we have access to this technology, and that would be wonderful. And that sounds to be something that is within reach, the way that your company is going. But so far, it seems that the applicability, of the products are mostly been serving Chinese customers. So what do you think about other markets such as the US and Europe, and what might be issues or concerns, or maybe even barriers for you, and also more generally, how do you position Squirrel AI in China and globally?
I think from the beginning we are a global company because our scientists are coming from the United States, Europe, and the college, the universities there, and also, of course, to go outside China is not that easy, like Tesla, like cars, or like Facebook. It's the same, right? In any country. But I think it's also easy because the platform and the algorithm and the product functions are almost the same. We just need to change the content. It's kind of like Netflix and Google when they go to other countries. The fundamental thing is the same. And also our scientists like Richard and Tom Mitchell and Dan Bandman, all of them, they actually are more familiar with the US market and European market than Chinese market. But we do it in China first, for some reason.
Great. So we might be therefore expecting to see more international collaborations down the road.
Sure. Thank you.
Excellent. So like I said, there are already a lot of questions. So why don't we turn to some of the questions in the Slido. And I'm going to start with the question that quite a few of the attendees really want to ask. Do you think the AI-driven learnings from improving student outcomes can transfer to improving outcomes for workers that need retraining over the next 15 years? Very interesting question.
Yes, I think this education platforms could be used in anywhere, but still in some experiment or manual things it's not work so well. But in spiritual teaching and interaction, it could apply for everywhere. The workers and even one of our investors, UOB, want to use our platform to train the bankers because they have a lot of knowledge and some cutting edge and new things of the financial tools, and also they have different users profile. So how to match all these things together to achieve the individualized learning goals. I think they all can use our platform.
So it sounds like the concept can be quite versatile and can be therefore used in different settings or different learners, right? Not just students, but other workers at any really phase of your career who want to learn. They in the future they can perhaps take advantage of this technology.
I think every people could learn from this platform more efficiently.
Thank you. And another very popular question or highly rated question is how AI will change the equity in access to education in China, especially in rural areas that which lack both qualified teachers and also internet connections. Now, you kind of addressed that earlier by talking about the access to broadband across China. But what about working with teachers that are in those areas that may not be, as well trained as teachers in the cities?
Actually, one picture I showed in the PPT is a small village in the very western, high mountains. They have a very small population, and the kid when we get there, the grade 6 kids they don't have enough math teachers. They change eight math teachers, when they learn, because some teachers goes and go back to the city. They don't want to stay there for a long time because they don't have the water even. So, but still at that school, elementary school, they have broadband and they have computer, but they do not have teachers. So when we get there, the music teachers is teaching math and English. Actually, his English level is really, really poor. But when we get the Squirrel AI installed in there, the student learned very fast, and by several months, their teaching level before 30 points out of 100 worse than the student in the county. Yeah, the 3 hours county, yeah, far away. But after several months, they keep up with the same level, yeah, of the student there.
Great. So it sounds like that the availability of the AI technology helps teachers at different, at various levels. They can still make use of AI. And I really love the examples that you give, Derek, because these are real people from real places. The next question on Slido is also about educators, right? But also, but more about sort of motivating educators to use this tool. So have you encountered educators that might resist using it and eventually come around to being motivated using AI technology?
Actually, in China, we do not face some educators that reject this method. They either embrace it very much or they do not know what it is. In China, it's hard to imagine. No kids are allowed to bring computer and a cell phone in class or in school. So it's forbidden. So every student and teacher are still working on paper, So it's kind of ridiculous, but so the teachers, they lack the ability to work with computers. They are like teaching in the ancient times. So they do not know how to deal with this. But when we get into more and more schools, like I said, now we entered more than 20,000 schools, and the educators feel it's very efficient. First of all, they do not need to to criticize to give comment to every homework for the student, because the AI tutor could do that. And also we give different students different goals and different learning target to make their learning more easily. And so for the past 3 years, more and more teachers like this very much. I caught we just now the teacher is very hard in the working very hard in the class. It's like the horse before to do all the things, but now they are like pilot. They just monitor all the data of the student in the class, and they see some alert, and they interfere with some student who need motivation, who have some problem to ask to deal with, so that they feel more relaxed and to see the more efficiency in the class.
Also could be a generational thing, right? So if teachers are a bit more traditional in terms of their teaching, then there's a little bit more kind of maybe reluctance. But once they get the idea, they probably raise it. So here's another question, which is somewhat different, along a different line. So the attendees asking this question, they are curious about how AI can possibly cater to different learning styles of various students. So some students are more maybe interested in visuals. Some students are more interested in having hands-on kind of experiential kind of learning. So how does the technology cater to these different tastes or preferences?
Now we could not deal with hands-on experiment, yeah. So but we are working on the project based learning to let the student to work in teams in the virtual platform, but still it has a lot of limit. what we could do to help the student is to detect what is they are interested in, and so we could learn that, before in the MOOC style, everything is set in sequence, right? But now we are not like a line, learning like a line. If you like other things, we could learn that first and turn back to the difficult things for you. And if you learn all the things around the difficulties for you, you could solve it very easily. So we give different, preference, the learning paths for students. And also in the MOOC style, they teach every knowledge for the same speed. Actually, for some students, they need only 1/3 of the time to understand, right? So we could move really fast, not making him very bored. And other students may need more time. For me, when I got graphic geometry, it's very hard for me when I was young. So I need much more time to deal with it. So this system could be very flexible to meet the needs for the kid.
That's great. That's good to know of the versatility. Now, the next question, it's sort of kind of dovetails a little bit with this, but maybe projecting even further. If AI learning evolves to no longer having any students learn together, like this year, right? We're all on Zoom. Do you think that could cause a loss of value socially for students? I think so. This is talking about really the social interactions. Are we going to be losing social interaction if everyone is just learning online or learning through technology?
Yeah, so that's why I believe the school will never vanish. I think, maybe in the future, even after 20 years, I think maybe less than half of the time a student could learn online. But most of the time, say 60% of the time, they still need the schools to work with other students and with the teachers in real environment.
Great. That's, again, good to know from a professor's point of view. How do you decide on the pricing model to generate revenue? How do you decide the price point?
It's very.
These are
it's a hard decision even for us, even for now. After 5 years, it's very expensive to build this system, but for every users, actually the cost is near zero. Right? So that's why we could donate a lot of accounts, for very high worth to the poor students. That's very easy for them. But actually, we have a marketing price that is very high there. And now we do some other things, level of the pricing strategy. What we call us is like the Tesla strategy. It has a price like a Porsche, right? It's not like Toyota, right, or Ford. But now they have Model 3, so their market boom a lot. So we will have a different level of the price. But actually, the difference between each level are not so much. In my point of view, it's like when in the future, I think AI will eliminate the difference and the gap between schools and the different teachers. It's like in ancient times, some family, they have horse and even the best horse, so their travel speed is very fast. But for others, they have to walk, right, by legs. But now, if you some people who buy the $10,000 car or $1 million car, the speed are almost the same, right? When you travel on the highway. So I think the AI education could, develop the equity in education. But still, we have different pricing strategy to meet different needs, for everybody.
So just like any technology, right? Time will tell. Maybe we can ask a couple more questions. I think we still have a little bit of time. Do the AI models developed in China need any retraining to some degree to be effective in foreign countries and cultures? So it's about retraining of the AI models for other countries.
For the subject like math, and it's almost the same because it's very structural, and every country they learn math the same way, and for mostly the same content. But for other things like history, like literacy, it's quite different. It's quite different, but it needs transfer learning. We have to retrain the model to be better in other countries.
Great, thank you. And how does AI motivate a student who wasn't interested in education and self-improvement?
Actually, like what I mentioned before, the two kids, they don't like study at all. At least their teachers and the parents think that, right? But actually, it is not. They are. Sometimes they may have deviation, right? Like work in a restaurant or other things, drink or smoke or other, games. But still, I think every student have the nature and the desire to learn. Everybody is a natural born learner, like I said. So once you give them the how to say self-satisfaction. We do not give the very hard thing for them to learn. If they got only 6 points in the 100, that's very bad, right? But the system give them the knowledge at the level of 7. So that is very easy for them. So they could understand what the teacher said, and they could understand the knowledge they do not understand before. And when they do all the questions, they can do it right. So they can interact with the teacher. So they feel very good, and they learn at level 7, 8, 10, 20, better and better. And the virtual tutor is very patient for them. If they are stuck there, so we could do other things. So drop that beside, to deal with later. So they make the student very, very happy, and they feel confident, in learning, so that they will like learning. So we ignite the desire of their brain to learn.
There's quite a bit of human nature in AI technology. So let me just ask the last question, and then we'll conclude this session. Have you been approached by other AI companies for M&A or benchmark?
I actually, when we are reaching some companies, but mostly, we build the AI model for our own. But we want to acquire some companies who have more content, or they have distribution channel, so to make us stronger and faster. And when we go outside China, we think we need to do more M&A to deal better with the local market.
Thank you so much, Derek. And there are so many more questions that have been asked, and I think you've really really activated the curiosity in the audience. And unfortunately, we are not able to ask all the questions that have been on Slido, but maybe we could still send you those questions after the session for your reference. So let me take this opportunity to maybe share some summary thoughts of mine, and after that, Derek, please add and maybe correct the summary. So I think I wanted to share maybe 4 or 5 points, right? Number one is this is really about the joy of learning. This is really about learning, right? Motivating students and not just learning knowledge, but really cultivating the interest and curiosity and the satisfaction in a learner. So that's number one. Number two, you've talked about access. You've talked about in China, broadband provided to every village, and also in the future, the vision that you have is that every student will have a personal tutor, robot tutor, and so expanding access, it's part of sort of the plan and part of the vision. And number 3 is that robots or AI tutors are not replacing human beings. They are not replacing teachers. And that you also envision that there will be new kinds of jobs created as a result of this, expansion and growth of this industry. And I think number 4 that I've picked up is that there's so much versatility associated with the technology. The technology can be used for other kinds of learners, workers, continuing education, team building, and I think I've also heard that the technology can also be used to grow the creativity in students, not just learning knowledge, but creativity in them. So I think these are all wonderful, wonderful points. So Derek, would you like to add anything to these points that I've picked up from your conversations today?
Thank you, Cindy and Professor Kramer, for inviting me. For me, actually, I think I have a very strong belief in AI. I think AI could change the world a lot, and actually change the world in every aspect and solve most of the most difficult things in the world. And so we also donate $1 million for Triple AI to award the AI scientists who do the breakthrough in the technology and also benefit the people. So I want more and more, new students, devoted into the AI area and change the world together.
Thank you so much. Hopefully, we can also work as a team with universities. And I can't thank you enough, Derek, for sharing all these interesting, really visionary ideas and for participating in the conference today. I learned a lot, and I'm sure the audience feels the same way. So thank you very much. We're really grateful. And I'd like to also thank the audience for joining us. And please stick around for the second session. There'll be a 5-minute break. And then after that, the next session is how the Greater China region is driving innovation of internet services globally. See you in 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Terry and Lucy. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.